Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Europe Summer Regional UK Championship. We are here for Heroes of the Storm. Group A, of course, was done yesterday. Today we're moving into Group B. We've already had one match. If you missed it, well, pity you, because you've tuned in just at the right time. Because next up, we have the clash of two titans. Two names that are absolutely familiar to any esports fan the world over. It's the clash between NaVi and Fnatic. Who goes through to the upper bracket final in Group B to take on Team Dignitas? Let's find out as we head downstairs to the analysis desk, which means joining Kendrick Swish once more.
Thank you very much, Red Eye, and what a series this is going to be indeed. Now, something I want to talk about is, first, of course, it's going to be a Fnatic. There were changes to Greymane, one of the iconic heroes for Quacknix, without a doubt one of the star players of the team. Do you think hero flexibility could be an issue for them, or at least for some of them?
I think so.
I actually don't really believe it's going to be a big problem. Like, a couple of teams have already tried to really shut Quacknix down by really eliminating heroes during the draft process by picking and banning against him. But it's not like Greymane is the only hero that he can play. He's very strong on Vala. We've seen him a lot also on Falstad, which was kind of the hero that he played before Greymane. So his hero pool might not as big as other players, but there's quite a lot of heroes that he can actually play if there's a need for it. And I actually believe that if there's another team that is going to show us Greymane again, it might be Fnatic for that reason.
I think they do have a couple of heroes that they play that a majority of the other teams don't, that they can compensate for the lack of Greymane, but they did hold him very highly in regards for a long time. Rightly so, but now with the struggle that we see from him, I am afraid that they might try and hold on to him a little bit too much because I think his value dropped significantly. I'd like to see them actually pull out those other heroes rather than the worry about trying to force the Greymane.
Right, and it's not like Fnatic has never surprised us at all, because they were the front people, or the first people to actually bring out the Murky.
Yeah.
Not the first, but, you know, recently.
That's definitely true. If you look at the hero pool for them, especially Ethereal Angel and Shrimpy, those two, they fill in so much, it is actually insane. And when you look at Ethereal Angel, he's all over the place. Right. He's playing the melee assassins, he's playing the Murky, he's jumping on the support if really need be, and if you need a second tank, he's also there for you. And it's very similar with Shrimpy as well. So those two just being so flexible in the way of what they can play, it gives the team a lot of flexibility during the entire draft, where they can suddenly switch their strategy around completely.
Yeah, and on the flip side, we have Team NaVi. Someone I want to talk about a little bit is Alex the Prodigy. He's without a doubt the most prominent face. He's the team captain as well, and he's very emotional about the game. There's a thing called, you don't want to make Alex the Prodigy angry. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, he's basically like the captain of the team, and he's very much like, we called him jokingly the dictator the other day, because he's he was not happy after Katowice, and I mean, rightly so, I feel. They definitely disappointed. They came into the tournament as one of the teams that everybody expected to make it to the globals, and then they got slaughtered. And it wasn't even close, and it was also not pretty to watch. And Alex was extremely mad about it, and for good reason. So after that, he really said, okay, we need to make changes. They made those changes with their lineup, and now I feel they have a very comfortable lineup as well. Sport really joining them, and not in the support role, but actually switching it over to Assassin, which he personally likes a lot, because he says, I'm having a much bigger impact on the games right now. And I feel Alex is way more happy with the lineup that they have right now. And it's really just one of those guys that tries to lead his team. And for them, it works really well, I feel.
All right, so let's actually take a look at the players themselves, starting with Fnatic and how they came into this tournament.
We have prepared really hard for this tournament. We were to Jönköping for boot camp before this tournament for 5 days, where we scrimmed a lot and tried to snipe other people's draft, as well as making sure we have as many drafts as we can find about every team. So yeah, now that we're here, we're just preparing in terms of looking at their draft, knowing what to pick, what we want to ban versus them, and everything. Just trying to cover up everything to make sure you're prepared. I feel that as long as we play good, we're okay in this group, but obviously it's a really hard group. I think this whole tournament circuit is really cool. You play at different places all the time and you experience a lot of different countries. It's cool.
Right, that was definitely an awesome video. The only thing missing was Ethereal Angel rocking a beanie. He was sort of left out in that regard. But jokes aside, Fnatic also has one of the youngest rosters in the entire tournament. So do you think that they have enough experience to finally get a title, or do you think that there might be something lacking still?
I think the roster is notoriously considered powerful players across the board. Athero, Angel, and Schwimpy both competed at BlizzCon of 2015.
Yep.
I think they have more than what it takes. They are young, but I don't think that's something that is going to be able to stop them from getting what they want.
They actually have the experience that they need. The only problem I feel that the team currently has is that in the late game, especially if they controlled the match so far, they overreach sometimes and take unnecessary risks. Definitely risks that can work out for them, but they don't really need to go for in order to win, where they just don't have that cleverness where they just say, okay, we're going to sit tight right now and just wait a moment longer because that's a guaranteed win. They're trying to make that one play, and oftentimes it gets them in trouble. It works out quite well oftentimes too, but it's just one of those things where they lose games that they shouldn't lose. And if they can just think about these moments a little bit more ahead and just make the calmer decisions, I feel they are going to all of a sudden just play so much stronger.
There's actually, from a shot calling perspective and an ex-player perspective, one of the things that I would do at times is actually you get to a certain point where you no longer worry about how you can win the game. It's how can you lose it, and you avoid that at all costs. I think switching that mentality for Fnatic would be something that they can become a lot better team if they're all right, guys, we've been winning the whole time, and it's okay, how can we lose? We saw that kind of yesterday, the backdoor under the core. The only way you can lose is by backdooring the core. So as long as you minimize that from happening, then you can't. So I think that mentality is something they need to adopt.
Yeah, really good point you make that, Dread. Now let's take a look at their opponents. Of course, NaVi, they are ready to fight for their lives in this tournament too.
Our preparation was pretty good, even though we didn't even bootcamp this time because we didn't feel the need for it. We think we're strong enough as it is, and we hope everything goes fine. We are actually in a really strong group. There is no comparison between the two groups. I think we have pretty good chances, but we are with the two strongest teams in the European scene right now. We don't really have any special tactics. We just try to outscore our opponents. We changed 2 players, which is a really big deal. We evolved as a team a bit. We don't play the same style as we used to do before. We expect a #1 finish. Everything less than that would be a disappointment for us. I think that we have really much better chances than we had in Katowice.
Yeah, and if we take a closer look at NaVi's roster, it is actually amazing to see how many old veterans they've got in their lines. Gran Paquete, ever since the old Liquid days, he has been a dominant force in the support scene in Europe. So Eternal, also considered to be one of the strongest assassins on the continent. So what is it that they have to make flip, that they need to make switch in order to unlock their true potential?
I really feel the problem that they had in Katowice was communication. It was one of the biggest problems, and you could see it in a lot of their games where just decisions on the map were not followed by the entire team, where calls were not really heeded. And this is something that they've been working on, and especially with Sportbilly, you have seen already the impact that he had on the setup. Zarmini is a great player that has played for a lot of teams and therefore knows how to adapt his own style here. I really feel that this is a very strong NaVi that we're seeing here, and that their main problem was the communication, and I feel that this is what they worked on the most.
From my perspective, it actually was kind of false positives. It seems like when we saw them at Katowice, they were kind of banging their head against the wall with things that didn't work. It was like Einstein's definition of insanity, if it's not working, why would you expect a different result, right? And it felt like they kept forcing the exact same strategy over and over again, and it was a little disappointing from my perspective, and so that's something that I hope that they were able to work on a little bit, where it's not just, this is the strat we know, this is what we think is going to be working, and it doesn't work, and it's okay, adapt. Mid-series, be willing to adapt.
During the spring championship in Katowice, it also felt like that some part of their roster weren't really on the same page, on the same level as the others. For example, Danatan, who used to be a very inexperienced player in the really competitive scene.
It was actually one of the examples that I was talking about earlier where communication was an issue. We had a couple of matches where they actually finally had a shot at bringing the game back. I remember one game on Dragonshire where the only thing that was missing was all of a sudden a player of them not really following the rotation. There was a Sonya up at the top. The opponent, I believe it was Dignitas, collapsed on them, and what started with a good kill for them ended up in them losing 4 heroes for no real reason. So these communication issues, if they smooth them out, that's something that will really help them to just advance. They also, as Dred mentioned, changed the way that they draft a little bit. And it's kind of interesting to see that compared to other teams, there's a couple of heroes where they have completely different priorities as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely see some very iconic strategies with team compositions for NaVi as well. Most prominently the Shen on Alex the Pro
Yeah.
G.
Exactly.
They still do that. They actually have higher prioritization of Zeratul, at least in the qualifiers, than a lot of the other teams. And then obviously the Chen, Tyrael comes into play. They don't do anything drastically different, but there are that couple here and there picks that they're willing to take that some of the other teams aren't.
Calder, do you think that we're going to be surprised by one of the other compositions that NaVi might unroll today?
Not necessarily today. It depends a little bit on how the games go. If they really feel that they don't have to show too much, they're not going to use it. But if suddenly the tournament life is on the line in a losers match, for example, or the consolation match, and it goes to a map number 3, I'm definitely sure that they are going to show everything. But they are going to try, of course, to hold a few things back, if possible.
Right now on the screen we've seen Fnatic, and they have actually added Kareon as their coach. And it was very interesting to see that they have a little bit of a different approach to the coaching thing. It's not about strategical aspects, not about tactics, more about as a personal coach. Building the team together, causing them to become more mature. Do you think that this is a good step in the right direction for Fnatic?
It's quite important, I feel, oftentimes to have an outside perspective. Like, as a team, if you have a certain strategy and you follow that through, it's always like very valuable if you have another person that is a little bit outside of the entire thing, just gives you a few insights, and that can help you, even if it's only an opinion. And if you really work with as a coach with the team, that can only help you in the long run.
I think personalities are really big when it comes to heroes, and working together as a group and really getting along with everyone. I think that's a huge step in the right direction. I think in an ideal world, having that third-person perspective on a strategy that is somebody that you can rely on to give you critical and valuable feedback is optimal, but those type of people, that's very hard to find here in the hero scene. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not surprised. I totally understand why they would want to do that, so I think it's great.
It's also one of the things, like, we are all talking about coaches all the time, and we, of course, want the ideal person that gives us the perfect strategy, analyzes the opponent, comes up with that one twist, and it's an insta-win. That's what a lot of people think about when they hear the word coach. But it can just be someone who really just, like, gets the team together, makes sure that there's synergy, puts a bit of an outside perspective in, and just does a little bit of the legwork for you. Like, analyzing opponents' lineups, what are the priorities that they have, what kind of hero do they prefer on a certain map. All those inputs already bring you in a really good spot. So I feel like the word coach right now in esports has a very broad definition.
Yeah, exactly. It's always depending on what the team really needs. Some teams, they need a little bit more help on analysis. Some teams, they need a little bit more of a personal coaching, dropping some energy off for, you know, the gaming while he takes care of organizational things. Now, as we see Fnatic getting ready, it's going to be interesting to see what the first map is going to be. Do you think that we might see any one of those non-traditional maps today? Something like Towers of Doom?
I think Towers is something that is not like strange enough that I wouldn't that we won't see it today. I don't think a lot of teams will hold to it. I think we can pretty much expect Infernal Shrines being picked somewhere in this series. I think Dragonshire is something we might actually see out of these two teams. But I don't think there will be any major. I don't think you'll see like Blackheart's Bay coming out from them. I feel like that's more of a desperation move in most situations than it is like a genuinely having a strategy that you feel like you can beat your opponent.
Calder, any map you want to see in particular?
I would love to see 100 Mines, but like I think that's not going to happen.
Never forget.
Yeah, 100 Mines game were always fun just because it was just so different. I mean, seeing maps, like, personally, there's nothing that I really want to see. I personally enjoy Cursed Hollow maps games quite a lot, which is, to me, also a little bit weird, because when we had the alpha, and you had still those tournament rules that you could pick a map again that was already played, we ended up with sometimes 4 times Cursed Hollow in a row. So back then, I was totally sick of the map, but right now, I actually like it quite a lot with the 2 bosses, with, like, the way that you can sometimes have to accept the curse, you can get a couple of tributes and just let them go, and also, like, the choke point situations that oftentimes involve a couple of heroes being prioritized a bit higher. I like the map. I think it's a lot of fun to watch, and I feel like chances that we're going to see it are pretty high.
I would like to actually see Battlefield of Eternity. I think it's one that I would really like to see.
Still waiting to see the entire tournament.
The strategy, I think, is just beautiful at times. Yeah. There's a lot of like very critical moments for both teams, and they can be done in a lot of different ways. And that's a map that I've always loved the strategy on. So I would like to see that. I don't think we will, but it's something I would definitely like to see.
It is also a map that features various core rush scenarios.
Yes.
And we've seen how entertaining and how awesome they can be yesterday. So definitely keep an eye out for Battlefield of Eternity, everybody. Now, NaVi, they're getting themselves ready. Sport Billy, I see him right there. He's also a very interesting player because he used to be part of Team Rocket. He played for various teams in the past already. As you said, Color, he moved from support to now flex assassin kind of style. And as I'm talking to you, I'm just getting word that Sky Temple is going to be the first map of this series. And Sky Temple also a first-timer, I believe.
I think so, at least for me.
Yeah.
I think it's the first time in this whole tournament that we've
Great.
seen Sky Temple so far, yeah.
I actually like, as you mentioned, I want to come back to Sport Billy for a moment because we've been talking about like him feeling comfortable in the situation of being an assassin, having a high impact. Interesting enough, he actually says that he would prefer, like he loves to play assassin, but he would even prefer the support role if he plays in a team where he knows 100% that everybody knows his positioning well. Because he said it was one of the most frustrating things in some of the teams where he played, that as a support, no matter how well he played, no matter what he did, he could not prevent anything. He didn't really have the impact as a player in this role that could save a team from the last moment, for example, if the positioning of the other players was not perfect. So he feels like with him playing support, he could just watch all these games unfold in front of him and knows now exactly where to position now that he plays an assassin. But he says, like, in a team that has a lot of intelligence in play, he would like to jump back onto the support role if that's needed.
It's pretty much the fate of every support player. You can only be as good as your allies that you're trying to save allow you to.
Yeah, but the minute they're very good, you all of a sudden are like, yo, I'm carrying this game.
Right.
So it is kind of a weird situation to be as when it comes to support, especially a competitive play. But
Right, so let's jump right to map number 1, which is, as we mentioned, the Sky Temple, a map that is very known to be quite objective-based, because sooner or later, the game is going to end just by securing temples.
Yeah, it's actually like one of those maps that, especially at the beginning, Dretton and I talked about this. We actually like disagree a little bit on that point. I feel it's very scripted. Like you love the rotation strategy at the beginning. For me, it always feels like if you don't screw up majorly, then we always end in that position where the second temple, so to say, starts, for me personally, the game a little bit off. But it's definitely one of those maps where you have to be very careful because of what you already mentioned, Kendrick, that the objective targets the structures directly.
I think the reason I like the kind of like first shrines when it comes to Sky Temple is a lot of it comes down to controlling Sightstone, because manipulating the rotations between top and mid, and then also whether or not you want to reserve somebody into the bottom half of the map, those rotations I think are very difficult to interpret, and it forces everybody on the team to be very smart individually, and that's why I feel like I value the map so heavily, is like once you hit that later into the map, it's not as difficult for everybody to know because you're as a 5-man like kind of death ball. But very early on, I really like the rotations. A sight zone is very crucial to control.
It's actually a really good point. The later on in the team is definitely one of those things where you ball up more as a team, and it's like not as easy to catch someone that overstepped maybe a little bit, even without not knowing where the opponent's position is. That's a good point.
All right, gentlemen, we are in the draft mode right now. We see the first ban coming in for NaVi. Fnatic, you know, they are pretty much known to go for pushy type of comms sometimes, and banning away pushy heroes on Sky Temple in general is quite smart. Something like a Zagara or a dominating laner like Sonya is definitely a very smart choice.
I think Dahaka is going to come into play in this game. Now that he hasn't been banned out, I would really like to see the teams looking for that. Both these teams don't have very high Kel'Thas prioritization before this tournament, so whether or not they feel like they're going to have to adapt here, they don't. They go with the false stat. Not surprising at all. NaVi very much likes that compared to the other teams where he kind of fell out in other regions and other teams. They have held it very heavily to him, and on a big map like this, makes sense.
I like the global here for him for sure. I also like the ban against Sonya. Usually it's not really the ban that you would necessarily expect, but Fnatic has actually a huge priority for Ethereal Angel to play Sonya. It's one of the most favorite heroes of him, so that's already a little bit of a target ban. At the same time, of course, it also caters to the presence on the shrine as well.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the Haka definitely being locked in immediately. Now, some of the core strengths that the Haka brings to the table is, of course, this split soaking potential. He can appear to the team side when it is needed. So definitely a very flexible hero that can really push the XP overall.
Yeah, I really like the pickup for Fnatic. Li Ming as well. She provides a lot of poke with Greymane kind of falling down. Makes sense to get the prioritization onto him. So, but where is the response going to come? Falstad of the Zeratul. That was what I was talking about. The NaVi does willing to bust out Zeratul at times. They have a couple others that they like to do a little bit more than others. I did not expect it this early.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's maybe more of like kind of the fear of the ban.
I think so too. Like, it's something that they showed in scrims as well, and Zeratul is of course going to be great against Li Ming in this case too. What I like about what we are seeing in terms of the picks is that both of the teams actually not only like pick for themselves, but also against the opponent. Fnatic, for example, picking up the Li Ming. Li Ming is a hero that NaVi nearly exclusively plays on Sport Billy whenever get the chance to pick him up for them. He can play other heroes. He has shown that he's actually like very strong on a lot of the ranged assassins, but if he gets a chance, he's going to be on that Li Ming. So Fnatic not only securing a strong hero for themselves, which they're good with, but also prioritizing her in a way that they make sure that NaVi has to just adapt a little bit.
Now, as the second ban is coming in for Fnatic, do you think they might want to ban something that works really well with Zeratul Void Prism, or should they prioritize the support? But as we mentioned, Kaltha is always the man when it comes to a ban.
I would be surprised if they don't ban Tassadar at this point. It's not necessarily one of his greatest maps, but he does provide a lot of value. And we were talking about, so they banned the ETC instead. I was going to comment as well. I really would like to see actually a stage dive picked up. The double global, double tank against the Zeratul is something that's pretty difficult to deal with on this map specifically. So he's going to be banned out. Tassadar would be a semi-decent option on this map. He's always great. Wave clear is always awesome, but also providing the vision against the Zeratul.
We have Thrall still out there, and we are actually like in a scenario where Thrall would really give you also quite some value here. So with the Sonya being banned, Thrall would have a bit of an easier time. Uther already picked for Smexy, really likes that, usually prioritizes Rega and Uther, the two top picks right now when you're looking at solo supports in particular. But in this setup, they could definitely go for it. They go for Johanna first though.
Now, what do you think about potential Sylvanas coming in? Tyrande coming in for NaVi?
It's something that a lot of the teams have actually shown that they prioritize a lot higher before this tournament, but I don't know if that's something. It seems like this tournament slowly but surely, obviously, Kael'thas bans coming out is something that wasn't very common as well. Maybe. I feel like I'm more trying to understand the Fnatic draft at this point, the Johanna pick. I think that's a falling sword, and I want to know if they're going to pair it with something.
I really feel that they just wanted to go for one of those. I feel like what they're going to use is also, of course, the blind against Zeratul. That might be one of the arguments for it. It's not really something that I personally feel is a huge argument in favor of the hero, but it comes up right now and then. They wanted to go for a double warrior. We have ETC banned, and with Mirrodin also taken away, I feel like Johanna just gives them another safe frontliner that is really tough to take down.
Yeah, also if you take a look at the Haka, it's not really easy for Fnatic to sort of licky someone from NaVi, because Falset has the barrel roll. Zeratul very hard to catch anyway, so far not really any, not Rhaegar maybe, but you have anything to say?
Yeah, I just feel like there's a lot of better setups, I guess, to kind of aid him in this type of situation, so I do agree with you there. So, what are they going to round it up? Most likely, are they going to double melee? Zeratul kind of breaks the meta when it comes to, you can't really consider him a melee. I still put him in kind of the caster area, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do go with a strong solo laner, if Thrall is something that they want to be worried about. At the same time, you brought up Sylvanas doesn't gain as much value on this map as some of the others, but they aren't afraid to play it.
It's definitely this is probably going to be the hero that we're looking for Zarmany, and he has been all over the place in his picks. Another hero that we haven't really seen yet is also a Zagara that you could still put down to the bot lane if you really wanted to. Zagara and Thrall are actually, yep, there she is. Zagara taken, and we could see that Thrall for Fnatic as a bit of a response there. It would leave them with Li Ming as the only range damage dealer though.
Yeah, there's still a little bit to obtain here for Fnatic, especially as you mentioned, maybe a melee assassin. Thrall's still ready for the taking. There's definitely a lot of room for additional engage, especially against a very immobile hero like Zagara.
I guess we're going to actually, in this case, I feel like we are going to probably see Ethereal on the Haka, probably Breeze on Johanna, and Shwimpy is most likely going to have the impact here on the last hero. We could even see them, I suppose, with the Vala Sylvanas is something, like you just mentioned the Sylvanas, they sometimes show her. We have seen it for Shwimpy as well, but they go for the Grey main now still.
That's 100% Quacknix right there.
Yeah, so they actually will play Li Ming on Shwimpy and Quacknix then jumping on the Grey main instead.
I personally feel like NaVi has a far bigger lead in that draft. I'm not too sold on the new Grey main in a lot of situations, especially on maps where I don't see him getting direct value. Like Battlefield of Eternity, for instance, when you just want to isolate him, leave him onto the actual Immortal itself, he ruins it. Like his auto attacks are still very, very valuable. He doesn't necessarily need to worry about the poke, but on Sky Temple specifically, he doesn't bring anything special to the table, which is where I don't value him like nearly as much. And again, that was kind of where I was talking about before, that I want to see them avoid that and worry about compensating for him in a different way. I'm not surprised, but I'm also not impressed with it, I guess.
And if you see NaVi's approach to this draft, they picked someone like Zagara who can have a tremendous impact on the game by landing that good mob, whereas Greymane is a relatively wonky hero. He doesn't really have that game-breaking, game-changing ability to burst targets anymore.
I actually expected before they went into the double tank them to maybe go for that Thrall to also have like a bot laner that they could deal with Zagara.
Yeah,
the problem that they had on the other hand going into the double tank is something that really limited their options a little bit, because Ethereal Angel, who plays the second tank, also plays the Thrall, and he's more or less like the only one who really jumps on the melee assassins. They have nobody else.
And it put them in a situation where if they went, anybody who can respond to the Zagara specifically, it forced them into a triple melee, which would be very, very hard to deal with. Not only that Zagara actually does well against the melee-centric composition. So it was a really beautiful draft move on the side of NaVi that it goes, if you're going to pick Thrall, you're going to have a bad time. So it's like you make the pick look less appealing for your opponents.
And at the same time, talking Greymane, we also have to see how exactly Quacknix is going to play it, because yesterday we saw a lot of cocktail builds coming out. And
I hope we don't, honestly.
It's the same here, because like we talked to our players a little bit, and like one of the reasons why most of the teams went into the cocktail build is that they said our idea was to actually get ahead up to the 10 and then control the game a little bit and push and then use the poke on Greymane instead of overextending, jumping in, and always having the need to really go deep. And I personally really agree. I agree with you, Dred, here. I really want them to go into a more melee-focused build, like trying to play him a little bit more as a melee assassin, wait for an opportunity, and then just wreak havoc, especially with the Divine Shield that they're already running here.
I mean, you bring up a very good point there, Calder. Divine Shield definitely suited to make a slightly more aggressive, more risky playstyle for Greymane possible. Something else that Fnatic, I think, needs to pull off here is they have to really make sure not to fall behind early on, because if you allow that against a Zagara who can dominate the bottom lane, destroy these healing funds early on, and securing themselves a strong second temple phase, I think it's going to be very, very tough for them.
Another thing that also, of course, comes into play, we talk about Zagara as a bot laner, but let's not forget about Maw plus Void Prisoner being on the team.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, the double isolation is something definitely to be feared. There's no massive kind of follow-up after that point, but isolation is never going to be a bad thing to have in your team. It's one of the few things that you can't have too much of when it comes to Heroes of the Storm. So, yeah, they have a lot of control. I think the only thing that I feel like is a redeeming quality coming out for Fnatic is that I think that Dahaka is very powerful on this map, and I think he has a lot to bring to the table. And so if they're able to play that very well, maybe they have a chance here, but overall, I'm not convinced.
Also, one of the things to consider here, just as a side note, as we talked about it earlier, they did not bust out the Murky. This is their Murky map. So in this case, they went a bit away from it. They, of course, practice against teams like NaVi also a lot with it, and they feel like NaVi can react to it. But we've been mentioning the hero and that strategy to a certain extent already yesterday. So in this case, even on their strongest map, they're saying against NaVi, we are not going to risk that.
I actually was thinking about suggesting it until the Zeratul, and then it leads into a situation where actually then GP becomes a reasonable option then, and then if you wanted to go into Cleave build, it'd just be terrifying.
Exactly. The Korean Cleave build is just like so strong with the poke, and if you go up against the Murky, I mean, that's free stacks right there.
Yeah,
exactly, all game long.
That's when that build becomes terrifying. If you don't get the kills, you're going to have a bad time.
So when you see Fnatic, there's always two things to keep an eye out for, right? Murky and Tyrael, of course.
Do you actually think, with that Murky that you mentioned, that this is one of the reasons why they busted out the Zeratul this early? To just say don't go for it?
It's just like if you do it, we're going to pick we're going to get free gathering power stacks, and we're just going to rend and cleave and just eliminate you all. I mean,
could be.
It's an option. That might be why they prioritize it that high.
Right, guys, quick prediction. Who won this draft?
I would give it to NaVi.
Sadly, I give it to NaVi as well.
All right.
Dahaka is the only redeeming factor for me.
So we have a one-sided prediction here coming in from the analysts. Let's see what the casters have to say. Of course, this time it's going to be Grubby and Kalaris. So take us to the Sky Temple.
All right, welcome as we get into our next series here. NaVi going up against Fnatic. This is going to be an interesting one. As I said on the desk before, I potted up here a little bit. I think it's going to be probably the best series we've seen so far, as long as they're not going to disappoint in terms of their actual anticipated skill level.
Yeah, definitely. This match, especially in terms of a first match of a group, should be the most close one yet on paper. And NaVi and Fnatic, both probably two top 4 favorite teams on paper for this tournament.
Yeah. Strong group here for Group B as we look on as Fnatic get ready here to go into Sky Temple, a map that we really haven't seen much of at all so far, and it is going to be the first map here between these two. Interesting to see how these compositions have lined up here, with NaVi looking poised. They're disappointed with their performance in Katowice, and now they are going to try and do it here in Leicester, UK. To the left, we're going to have Fnatic with Shrimpy on Li Ming. Athero is going to play Dahaka, Quacknix on Greymane, Breeze on Johanna, and finally S-Mix on Uther. And then over to the right-hand side, we have NaVi with Zarmani on Zagara, Alsa Pro G on Muradin, Eternal on Zeratul, Grand Paquette on Rhaegar, and finally Sports Billy on Falstad. Let's get into game number 1 here on Sky Temple of Group B between NaVi and Fnatic.
We can already see the Greymane, which used to be one of the #1 picks for the first pick already. We can see him coming out with a different build than we've seen so far. We've seen about 3 to 4 Greymanes this tournament, and almost all to the T went for a full cocktail build. He instead has gone for Wolfheart, something that allows his cooldown of Inner Beast to come back quicker. Dahaka, more damage on minions and mercs with his W ability, Dark Swarm, 100% bonus damage, which will make his split push a lot quicker. All right, let's see how that works out. No enhanced agility for Dahaka, he doesn't have a mount, but he can stalk into the brushes. And we see a little bit of a brush ambush attempt being set up here already, which would be pretty nice if NaVi were to attempt a 5-man mid and then Zagara to just walk to the bottom, but that will be a rookie mistake to get caught by this, and it's definitely not going to happen. Zarmani there, walking from the safe side. All right, and we have everyone falling into their respective positions. No one really taking much risk yet. We haven't seen amateur mistakes yet, and the chess table has been set up.
All right, interesting to see how this is going to play out towards the middle here. Quacknix is just going to delay things out for a little bit. And overall, I mean, Falstad always provides that great mobility on this map. Very, very mobile, all over the place. You can have him up towards the top at the beginning, the best place to really position him out. And then later on, when you know that those temples are coming active towards the bottom, flies down if needs be, or sticks around and soaks.
Yeah, he's got one of the most strategical options together with Dahaka in how he positions himself, because you can either join the fight first and then fly away to soak, or the reverse. Nice Dahaka gank there. And Thero getting the first kill.
And we already heard Breeze there getting into it, and this is going to be a very, very loud series for sure, I think, as Breeze ever so loud when he gets into those kills. But for sure, they've already seized a little bit of that advantage there. And taking control of both of these temples to start would be amazing, but they will push back on towards the top there. So we're going to see Johanna being pushed away by Falstad for a moment and Grand Paquette, but obviously they're quite low at the moment.
So Sport Billy going back for a Healing Fountain, getting some life and mana again. We have a triple concentration of heroes here, and we have Zagara, Zarmani, he's staying at the bottom, which means that his team is trying to contest both temples with 2 versus 2 or 2 versus 3, and they're not winning out. So we have double laser control here going to Fnatic.
Yep, not the easiest here for NaVi to really kind of gain some momentum at the moment. They did seize away the middle and getting the last shots through there.
Now, one of the interesting storylines has been Greymane getting nerfed a few days ago, and Quacknix, it's one of his 2 main heroes. And
yes,
we were wondering if we will still see it. Oh, Zeratul getting taken out here. And now I'm seeing the build that I feel like we should have been seeing from Greymanes all along.
Right.
We have Wolfheart going into Thick Skin, 2 charges of block when he charges in with Dark Flight. And maybe at level 7 we'll even see Quicksilver Bullets, the 20% bonus range on human. Or in a more daring gambit, Wizened Duelist, the kind of gathering power attack damage type of ability.
Yeah, we could do. Overall, I mean, it's a very versatile kind of mid of the range build, makes him stronger in almost all areas for sure. And we'll see if that's going to continue on through. Just taking a look at the full builds here. We're seeing still the one who collects actually coming at level 4 for Dahaka.
That's not the usual one you'll see on ladder. Generally, when you play in Hero League, you're going to get a lot of value out of Hero Stalker, the one that gives you bonus essence from hero kills, as kills in Hero League are much more prevalent, more common. People aren't as good at saving themselves, and the supports maybe aren't as on point due to lack of coordination. But giving respect to the opponent team, okay, we may not get your heroes as easily as we would random ladder scrubs. So instead going for one who collects, getting more reliable essence extra from minions. All right, we do have Incendiary Elixir coming out of Greymane here, so not one of the other 2 talents I referenced. Bonus damage stacking for Cocktail still, but without an overinvestment of cocktail spread increase.
Yeah, funny that we actually still see that coming out. So nice to see that he's still again rounding out his composition for the most part in terms of his build. Still feels that it has some punch to it, and as long as you are a skilled player and you are hitting the cocktails towards those kinds of team fights, you should be fine. Should be fine.
Equal bruiser camp timing here, roughly. They might delay the capture. You see that coming out of Greymane already here on the left side. Quacknix is capturing it before going back for Hearthstone right when the temple activates, providing that split push utility. And now you can also see why Falstad and Dahaka were drafted so early on in the draft, in first and well, first place respectively, because they can stay here for longer, joining their brethren later at an opportune time, clearing more wave and denying some of the enemy push.
Getting themselves in the right position down towards the bottom. Of course, that creep spread does help Zarmani towards the bottom to maybe establish some kind of position down here, but not easy if it's already been sieged position of. Like, Fnatic already forced themselves into that location very, very quickly. A little bit behind in experience, but they're going to make up for that soon.
Yeah, usually when you get the position first, it's very difficult to wrest it away, this bottom temple, by the opponent, because they have to funnel through a small opening where you can aim all your area of effect spells and really rarely miss them. But with Falstad flying in and Dahaka staying top, Fnatic is willingly giving away the last lasers, which, to be fair, is less than half of the remaining ones, so that is completely fine with Fnatic. NaVi wrestles the control here away.
I feel that the war of Dahaka and Falstad is something that is, this is like a prelude to it. Like, that could become a very, very clear thing, given with Brushstalker versus Flight and how those mechanics can fight against each other, and them both being meta currently. Yeah. That could become the war between those two.
Yeah. And if you were to give away both, you would give away a lot of the control of rotations, especially on a big map like this.
Imagine how scary those like ganks would be. Like, that is a terrifying thought. But stun comes out there. We're going to see Alex just moving on back for a moment, saving himself here.
Zeratul with the Vorpal Blade, so he can follow Li Ming even if she teleports away. We expect to see Illusionist coming out of her at level 13. But no matter how far she goes, Zeratul can follow.
And all the way back to Prague, even Prague, Eternal impressed me with his Zeratul play. He is by far one of the, in my opinion, one of the best Zeratuls in Europe. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he's going to use this. And look at that, flying forwards here onto Athero. He is in quite a bit of trouble. He pops his trait to try and get himself in a better position, keeping himself alive, and he will keep alive.
Yeah, that was all 50 of his essence, so he's going to be depleted right now on instant regeneration, but really nice when you can save yourself that way.
Yep, true. He'll have to gather that back up a little bit more, but that's what Dahaka is all about. He likes collecting. He does that very well. We will have Quacknix as well as SMX, and also Breeze moving through the middle here. Just looking to challenge some of these locations. Cleaning up creep is so important through between the bottom and middle lane specifically, and even taking this easy camp. So good start, but actually the congestion.
Everyone is flooding in here. Dahaka still up there. He's going to teleport into the bush behind. Ethereal with the flank isolation on Rhaegar.
Still trying to challenge this as much as possible. There's the Gust to try and push them away more. He's going to be able to take it away for the moment, as well as the Void Prism here to slow all of this down. Very, very contested fight at the moment. Breeze going quite low. Needs to get on out of there. They will take that easy camp. Wrestled it away from NaVi.
We see a glimpse of the stratagem here by NaVi, having the combination of a Devouring Maw on one part of the enemy team and then a Void Prison on the others. Yes. But the way it was coordinated, they were only momentarily by themselves, Johanna and the other one that got caught in, and it wasn't long enough to isolate them away and actually take them down. A very potent combination, but didn't work out quite yet. Also because Murdin had already fallen prior to the main fight.
The thing is that could have been a little bit... Oh, hold the phone there. That's a blow up on towards Falstad, killing him off very, very quickly there. Nicely done, as Fnatic will be able to seize this Shrine at Temple, as well as having the bottom one anyway. So that was like a 4v5 up there for a moment. Yeah. And Fnatic won out with that pick.
Yeah, exactly. Falstad a little bit far forward and got taken down. Nicely done by Li Ming. With instant resets chasing the others away. And that's double laser. And we've got a 3/4 advantage here for Fnatic.
Yeah. The thing I wanted to mention before about that kind of camp steal that we saw is that Repulsion, the Wave of Force is very, very strong for that kind of plays for Fnatic. So the longer this game is on the go, the longer easy it's going to be. Zeratul's going to end up falling under the pressure there of Fnatic. And that's a really nice pickup for them, because 30 seconds without a Zeratul on the map, they know where everybody's going to be. They can see them. Removing a Zeratul is one of the best tools that you can have mid-game.
Yeah, exactly. Also, it allows you to travel just like how you would like. When
Yes.
Void Prison and Zera are still available, you pretty much can't travel tightly packed together. Because
Exactly.
Void Prison could just ruin your day.
Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. But now that allows them to gain even more momentum, taking this hard camp freely. No Zeratul scouting this out, for example. Of course, on the other side, we're going to see NaVi taking theirs as well. And that will kind of butt heads in the middle. But because there is still a fort there up to the top for Fnatic, they're still in control of this top lane, despite there being a bit of creep there.
So we once again have one of these compositions that kind of just works. It's really stable from Fnatic. And on the other side, we've got this wombo combo potential required. And we keep seeing this against each other in the first match that a team is playing in this particular tournament. And it always seems like with the nerves and unusedness that you have playing on a new setup, because normally you're used to playing at home or whatever, it is always very stable to play the one that doesn't require a big setup. And Void Prison and Maul, they have to work perfectly.
Got it. Oh,
this could be a Void Prison!
Uh-oh. Okay, 3 people caught at the moment. Athero is trying to zone out the 2 from actually being able to follow it up, and wisely does. Admittedly, a lot of NaVi wasn't in the right place to follow up either, to be honest.
Yeah, it was almost like a panic Void Prison to get away, a disengaged one.
I think Gust might have been enough, but better safe than sorry.
Yeah. I think small miscommunication there. They want to ideally have a Gust, group everyone together, VP, and then devouring maul them all, and then aim all their spells.
And that is dead Fnatic
that
right
will
there.
be lights out. And that can happen at any moment in the game. Wombo combo is one of the best ways to get back from a deficit. Even if you're down 1, 2, or even 3 levels, as long as you line that up perfectly, you can team wipe the enemy team.
All right, so they're going to clean up down towards the bottom. We only have the 1 temple active now, which is all the way down to the bottom, and Athero is lurking in the bushes. That's what DreamHack does best. And we'll see Quacknix, though, getting caught out way far away. That is a guaranteed pickup there. Good stuff by NaVi, but now they're going to lose a few of the shots towards the bottom. But making it a 4v5 means that they can grab it fully soon.
Yeah, NaVi having a level down, but they have a hero up, so they pretty much can bully Fnatic around. And Fnatic needs to be careful not to chain up their deaths. They shouldn't really take a fight now without a big part of their damage Greymane.
And DreamHack does have elongated tongue at level 16, which makes his potential to hit those tongues a whole lot better. So now, NaVi has to be a bit careful about how they approach the Fnatic lineup, because, again, you know, we can see 1 tongue come out, and that can be lights out. Brushstalker up towards the top for some soak. They've given this fight up.
Man, I thought they were gonna almost take a fight the way they were positioning, but finally the Haka went away. And now, the boss force. Risky it seems, but we've got 3 things that can disengage.
And also, you got to remember that DreamHack's Brushstalker there for a moment was on cooldown, but as you say, there's still things.
It's a fair idea. If your opponent finds you when the boss is 35% or less HP, you can just continue and either use Void Prison or Gust or Maul or all 3 of them to force the capture of the boss. It's not necessarily going to be efficient, but you can make it work if that's what you want.
No, indeed. I think with that kind of control, they could 95% guarantee themselves it, but you don't want to account for that 5% that could say, well, actually, no, we're going to just pull the craziest move.
And it doesn't work if the boss is only 70% when the opponent finds it already. So smart disengage from NaVi, it was an option. You don't lose too much from trying it. And then they decided to smartly back off.
All right, so still Eternal just poking on in wherever he can. Again, he does have that Volpa Blade build that we were mentioning before, so there is potential for him to get some really cool plays. But he's going to be looking for those squishier targets. He's going to be looking for maybe the Greymane if he's in the back before he goes into the front, and maybe even for the Li Ming. But of course, Li Ming took Illusionist as well as Calamity, so that does give her a little bit more survivability against those kind of flank potentials.
Yeah, exactly. Then this is probably not going to be one of those games where Zeratul chooses his target and assassinates them. He doesn't have to Shadow Assault, plus it's a competitive game where, everyone can fend for themselves really well. It's almost like he's a walking Void Prison threat. And
that's
only,
enough.
When the fight devolves, he will pick his target. But if he thinks he can jump in here, even with Wormhole, he's going to be sorely mistaken, because he'll get stunned and taken out.
All right, 2 temples active now. Hard camp being taken up towards the top. Wouldn't mind if Fnatic likewise took theirs, and they will be heading over there. We've got 15 seconds before those temples are active, so this is perfectly timed out. If you're like a little bit newer to Heroes of the Storm, this is one thing that works very nicely. Taking some of these bruiser camps or mercenary camps just as an objective is becoming activated. If you can time that out, it means that those lanes could push while everybody's contesting the objectives.
Yeah, exactly. It's a crucial real-time strategy game rule as well, to always do things in twos at least. It's very one-dimensional to just tell your opponent, we're doing this one thing and nothing else, so go ahead and respond as you'd like. This is a lot more difficult, but again, when both teams do it, there is no pressure because the bruisers will meet in the middle.
True. Presents harder decisions if, say, for example, one team misses out on the opportunity to capture a bruiser camp towards the top. But for now, we're just taking a pause here as Shrimpy has a small issue, or maybe someone on the Fnatic lineup.
I'm going to guess it's a keyboard issue, because otherwise you could say what is the issue.
That's very smart there, Grubby.
Or maybe maybe not. It's just a pause.
All right, so we'll find out in just a moment what has gone on there. But a cool start to this series. Very, very patient, very, very calm. 5 kills to 1. Not a huge amount of deaths here and there.
But that one kill that NaVi got was pretty important. The Greymane takedown meant that we are now looking at an equal situation of almost 3 versus 3 forwards. We have 3.5 for Fnatic.
That's true.
And just a 40% level lead.
They would have been even more significantly behind if, I mean, Fnatic right now definitely ahead a portion, but that one kill, if they didn't get that, they wouldn't have been able to seize control of that bottom temple.
Exactly.
Which means that we could almost be towards a level 20 Fnatic right now. They would be on level 19 probably.
Yeah, it'll be like 19 versus 17 flat.
Yes.
And that's a little bit of a underestimated element sometimes. People look at Heroes of the Storm games and they say like, okay, this one team was leading all the time, and then how come it equalizes so easily? Or now suddenly they're level 18 versus 18, even though it's 5 versus 1 takedown.
Yeah.
But it is rather quote-unquote easy to avoid having your members picked off, like 1 versus 4. Like you can play risk reduction style and not make any mistakes. And it's actually not making any mistakes that get rewarded really well with 2 to 3 level leads.
Yeah.
You can keep that lead rather large. But if you give away 1 or 2 heroes, it actually changes the whole dynamic of the game, because it's pretty hard to win with 4 versus 5 heroes.
Completely. So these two teams, very high level in the European scene at the moment. And one thing that I actually want to look at briefly whilst we still have this pause going on is, we've talked about it a little bit, and it's Muradin's level 13. For a long time, it was Thunderclap. Thunderstrike. But Burning Rage has come in. And personally, huge fan of this. I already mentioned it yesterday.
Yeah.
Huge fan of it. It's rare in these
We're
games.
actually talking about this for like 3 hours, right?
Oh, yeah. Oof, that one
3 minutes at least. Yeah.
These level games, rarely are you going to get proper value out of Thunderstrike, but almost always are you going to get good value out of Burning Rage. Muradin survives for a long time at the front with Avatar, Stoneform, and the numbers that Burning Rage does add on to a fight are quite surprising.
Yeah, like the Thunderstrike is great for soloing someone, but part of competition is to rely completely on your teammates, especially if you've got 3 damage dealers on your team. It's still nice to add extra damage, but the Burning Rage actually helps for wave clear, and this often gets underestimated. It's all cool to stand in a bush, level 20 versus 18, do a rewind, quadruple spell cast on a Vala who walks in there. And it's like, oh no, Muradin soloed me. I was completely stunned, I couldn't do anything, which is kind of cool. But how often does it happen?
Not very.
But you are going to clear 20 to 30 waves by yourself in a game. So Burning Rage helps a lot with that.
And Alex, one of the best warriors in the, and there he is right there actually on screen. One of the best warriors in Europe, definitely. One of the most talented players in Europe, a lot of people would say, even in the scene, leading this NaVi roster. You know, he's mindful of these things. Very, very mindful. It is a small change. I won't be surprised if we see that from him every single time he plays Muradin in this tournament, because he kind of thinks these things through very heavily.
He's also a serious taskmaster. He has high expectations of himself and of his team members.
Oh, yes.
This guy, yeah, he expects nothing but the best. So he goes into this tournament and expects, okay, anything but #1 would be a disappointment here.
Yeah.
And you would think that maybe all competitors think like that, but there's actually many ways to approach your mentality for a tournament. You can also depressurize yourself and say, I accept anything that happens. Fate is my goddess, and we think we are pretty good, but so are our opponents. Let's just do our best. And it really depends what kind of person you are, what actually works the best for you. So this mentality dynamic is really quite interesting.
No, you're dead on the money. I mean, I remember many, many times throughout my career talking to players. I'm like, I'd be happy with top 16. Like, okay, if that is your expectation, that is your expectation. But then you've got people like, as you say, Alex, who's like, we are here to win.
Yeah.
Doesn't actually matter. We are here to win. And looking back, when you think about Katowice, how it went for them, can you imagine how mortified they were with the position that they had? I mean, admittedly, they run up against Dignitas twice. Not exactly the easiest thing to deal with, but still, they expect the very tip-top.
Yeah. So, still paused in this first game of the second match of Group B here on day 2 of the Heroes Global Championship Summer EU #1 qualifier in Leicester, UK. As the players will certainly feel the tension mounting here as the moment where they can play is delayed. We're not quite sure what's the issue, but we'll try to let you know as soon as we know.
Yes, we would love to. We are still unaware as to exactly what's going on down there. But once we know, we shall keep you up to date. Trying to look and see if we have any more craziness in the builds. How have you been liking Greymane's build so far? We've gone with Concentrated Blast towards level 16. Very good still. I mean, like, if you're able to land those cocktails, and a Wolfheart obviously is going to make that all the more strong for Quacknix, because you can have it up more.
Since the patch is like 4 days ago, there is it's a microphone issue. Thanks for letting us know that.
Okay. Thank you, Smix.
Since the Greymane patch has only been about 4 days ago, it is rather difficult to completely switch to a non-cocktail oriented build if you haven't practiced with it.
Yes, true. Yes.
And so this was a build before the patch, where you would get Incendiary and Concentrated, but you would focus on Wolfheart, something like Unfettered Assault at 13, something for mobility, and then at level 4 even Thick Skin that allows you to dive in a little bit more often while taking less damage.
I mean, even Wolfheart was more Asian in comparison to a European thing. Europeans would always go for like the longer range, and then it was Asia and America would adopt Wolfheart very, very heavily, but Europe was very stuck in the ways of, I actually want fantastic range on this.
I've heard European Greymanes that said they'll get Wolfheart like once or twice, like depending on the map. Like
right.
One or two maps they'll do it, and on the other battlegrounds they take something else.
Tomb could make sense for something like Wolfheart if you are in that kind of thing.
Because there's so many things to attack.
Yes.
It's a small map.
Yes.
You can keep it up pretty well.
Yeah.
And you need it often there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's always conflict, whereas on a bigger map like this, not necessarily, but with the current new build, the way it is, definitely something to implement in almost all maps.
But these Greymanes, I'm sure they already theory crafted what could be maybe the better build after the cocktail nerf.
Oh, definitely. Instantly. As soon as they see it, they're like, oh, God, now what do I do?
Do I go Wizard Duelist with Executioner or Alpha Killer? But to suddenly adapt it in the tournament when your team doesn't know how to play around it yet, it really takes a different approach. So I think actually Greymane with double support, if one of them is tested out with Leeching Plasma, is insane. With Wizard Duelist, Alpha Killer, or Executioner, and then you get the Worgen Cleave at 20. You heal yourself for like 500 to 800 life per hit. It's crazy.
As long as you're getting the right damage in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Because, I mean, if you think about how Greymane is structured as a hero, his melee attacks, I think, do more than Thralls. Do they scale better than Thralls? Or
so he gets a 40%
incorrect?
bonus. Let's see, Thrall will hit for something like 350, maybe at level 20.
He hits hard.
Greymane can hit for like 485 in Greymane, like in Worgen form.
He hits hard and he hits fast, especially when you do have available to you.
He doesn't always have the mobility if he doesn't take the Inner Beast talent at 13 on the Prowl. And then he doesn't have the healing that Thrall has. So he really needs double support, and one of them ideally is going to be Tassadar with Leeching Plasma. But it's sick. I'm surprised we haven't seen it yet.
I'm glad we get to have these small theory crafting sessions, Grubby, amidst our small issues that are still looking to be fixed. But do bear with us, ladies and gents, as hopefully it will be done soon. Obviously, these teams want to play in the best conditions possible because there is a lot on the line. Even more so at this tournament than there was at Katowice, because only one team qualifies, so you can't just go into a semi and be like, oh, okay, well, if I win this one, I'm done. You want the best seed possible going to the semi-finals because you want to be able to push on to the finals, big money on the line, and of course, that spot going on to the Summer Championship to compete internationally.
Yeah, Kalaris, it would be quite dangerous if you had a mindset where it's like, well, we can get first here or at the next one, so we always have a second chance. Like, it seems mentally more difficult to get first place at one of these rather than top 2 at a single tournament.
Yes.
So it is really, it's challenging and it's providing really interesting climax moments here for these teams. Only winning is going to be good enough to qualify for the Global Championship.
All right, so I think what we're going to end up doing is going to a small break here. These issues are persisting for a little bit longer than we imagined. But bear with us, ladies and gentlemen, and join us after the break when we shall get back into game number 1 between Fnatic and NaVi.
Where am I?
This agent is extremely dangerous. Neutralize her. Go, go, go! Kaboom, baby! My life for ire.
StarCraft II, Legacy of the Void. Play it now. No previous expansions required.
The Kirin Tour will tell you that mastering the magical arts is like learning the rules of a game. Fools, true power is taken by those brave enough to break boundaries. I am Medivh, the last guardian. If magic is a game, then it is one I play to win.
An adventure. I mean, have you seen this Nexus place? There's limitless worlds to explore. Constantly new things to see. Ew! Sure, there's danger too. What's an adventure without a little action? Oh, I can help with that. I am a Storm Scout after all. And for Storm Scouts, life is an adventure.
Back into the action with Fnatic versus NaVi, as we are going to jump back into Sky Temple in just a moment here. Fnatic looking poised and good to go. They have solved their issues, and we will be jumping back in. Just to recap, level 18 versus 17 here with the advantage in Fnatic's hands. And we have 2 temples active right now, and we have... Looks like NaVi have been able to seize control of the middle one, but the entire top one has been taken by DreamHack.
All right, we see an effort here by Fnatic to wrestle back control of the middle one. The top has been abandoned. We see a 5v5 breaking out here. A nice dodge there on the Stormball with Thero Angel using the burrow.
Yep, just keeping himself alive at the moment. Doesn't want to have to pop too much of his survivability just yet. And trying to slowly poke this out. Li Ming got a great burst onto Zarmany just then. He'll have to be careful. Continues to fire away here to Shrimpy. Very accurate with these things, as Alex has to flee. You see it as using as the zoning tool alone as well. And they got the shots from there. They can now rotate top and get more shots. Oh!
Very nice elongated tongue usage there by Thero Angel. I didn't think that was going to hit, but Falstad was immediately deleted, with Rhaegar even being out of position to cleanse that away. If he still had that cooldown, Grand Paquette was unable to save Falstad there.
And we now see DreamHack going back up to the top. His Brushstalker should be off to cooldown now, so he can go claim those shots from up the top there. And then from that point on, he'll be in a good position to finally be able to then transition down and maybe challenge the boss if needs be.
All right, we see the boss attempt here, and that's uniquely possible because Falstad isn't there to use a Gust of Wind, the Mighty Gust, to steal it away. DreamHack comes here, eats some banelings for breakfast, and this is going to be a pretty easy capture. We could see Murden trying to jump on, Void Prison, devouring Maul, but it's all too risky, especially since Falstad wasn't back yet, and the level difference.
All right, so just going to move away for now. NaVi. And that was a nice claim, very nice claim.
So I think what Fnatic does here is that try to make use of this boss to kill the keep, but no further, because they're going to be against level 19.6 perhaps by the time that they're getting to the keep. So it would be too risky to go for core. But if they can get the keep or maybe half life on it, and next, oh my god, they get Muradin!
Muradin goes down very, very quickly. Apex Predator was taken as well by Dahaka, so he can be all over the map at any time. If he spotted Zeratul up towards the top, he could have tried to go up there and push him away from any kind of soak, and also be back down very quickly.
Now suddenly this becomes a win condition. Muradin, the tank is gone.
Yes.
They don't have the Storm Bolts to follow up any wombo combos.
And notice they're zoning NaVi out from even being able to do damage to the boss at the moment. That's so important. They were creating a barrier around it so that it can get on and tank. There's going to be the Void Prism. Ancestral Healing landing on towards Sports Billy as quickly as possible. That's a great Maw, and they might be able to follow up with this. Banelings are going to go into. They have the AoE damage available, though. Burrow instantly there from Dahaka moving away. They did some damage, but NaVi saved that very, very well.
Yeah, very nicely managed by Fnatic too, though. That was a triple wombo combo of Void Prison into Devouring Maul, and no one died.
Vorpal Blade goes in. Max is very, very low. He will move away and keep himself alive. Double Temple now, and this is where the timer puts above NaVi here. They need level 20. They need to go soak that. Falstad is a great option for that. But then they need to get on these temples in 10 seconds. How can they compete with the level 21 position of Fnatic?
Yeah, and if Fnatic gets both temples, NaVi will be down to the core, to the bare bones of the core. They can't allow this. They need to try and step on the temple, get the first few lasers, get a tower, and get level 20 off of that. And then NaVi needs to go where Fnatic goes. If Fnatic splits themselves and says, we'll trade temples, that's great for them. They can even threaten going for the core. So NaVi needs to surge the fight.
If they're going to take that easy camp, then they have to force the issue on these temples now. They allowed them to get level 20 and even get shots. I thought they were going to be a bit more aggressive on towards these temples, but they're now here. And
Falstad wanted to defend the siege camp. He's currently not quite sure what he wanted to do. He was moving up and now going back to the siege camp. Fnatic knows this, so they can keep this temple for now.
He's got his self-epic mount as well, so he can transition between these lanes a little bit quicker and get in there. Elongated tongue there from Athero is not going to be able to hit and try and do something. But here comes Sports Billy. Here we go now as we see Athernal on the left-hand side. Shrimpy was already able to scout him out there, so no flanking potential at the moment from Zeratul.
NaVi has their Void Prison back, but Maul is 10 seconds off. This is not the ideal time to fight Fnatic.
That was a repulsion in there, trying to push him in, and it looks like Zeratul's going to end up getting blown up very, very quickly. A little combo here coming out from Shrimpy, shouting gracefully here. It's Athero as well, with Breeze just pushing forwards, ripping apart the NaVi lineup. They are going to get pushed into the sea, and that is going to be a 4-for-0 with the Maw even catching up towards the top, but it's not enough at all. That is going to be GG. They can march on towards the core and take the start of this series.
Just a perfect fight here. Void Prison was not even used. Zeratul died first without using Void Prison.
They knew exactly where he was at every given moment. They were keeping tabs on him, making sure that he wasn't going to do anything at all.
Eternal not having a good time in that fight there, as it was at level 20 for both, but Fnatic just really outplayed that fight. They will take the first win.
GG. Good victory there for Fnatic, going up against one of the strongest teams here. People expect going through here in Group B, and that has put themselves in a good spot. They've always been pretty good on Sky Temple. It's not often that we get to see Sky Temple, but they've always had good mastery of it, and that shows through there.
Very important win for them mentally, as we see them in good spirits. 1-0 lead.
I can't decide which is louder, Breeze's mouth or Breeze's hair. It's fantastic. But it's always nice to hear him kind of showing so much enthusiasm about pushing his team to victory. And that's what we saw in that game. You know, when once they get the one kill, they're riled up. And oh my God, is that energy. It's, how do you, it's, what's the word for spreading? Like, it infuses you with energy, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's very
motivating.
contagious.
Yes, that's the word.
That kind of fighting spirit.
Yes, contagious. I don't know why I couldn't English in that moment. Thank you, Grubby. You non-native speaker, you. I appreciate it. But anyway, we are going to go to a short break, and when we are back, it's going to be game number 2 now between Fnatic and NaVi.
Tracer's here.
Heroes.
Cheers, love! The cavalry's here! Take that! Yeah!
Now I've got a tale to tell you of the ones from long ago. There's an evil that's been dreaming, but now it's softly screaming. From the darkness, their power will grow. It's the whispers of the old gods.
Welcome back, everybody, to Group B. We've had the second best of 3, actually, between Fnatic and NaVi. And despite our skepticism at the very beginning of the draft, Fnatic still managed to pull it off. What was their secret?
Well, I would say that Haka is a pretty good hero, and hero played it extremely well, securing a lot of early game kills for them. And I have to also say that NaVi was lacking quite a bit of synergy here that they could have had with that setup.
I agree on all fronts. It was pretty much, we talked about how we feel like if there's a redeeming factor in Fnatic's draft, it would be the Dahaka, and he single-handedly secured about 5 kills in the early game just by himself, just one good tongue coming out, just pull him back a little bit, and then they were going to end up dying. And then I also feel like Falstad and Zeratul picks for how highly they were prioritized were very unimpactful that series.
Now, I'm sure there's a lot of players out there who want to try the Dahaka for themselves. In your opinion, what makes a really good Dahaka player?
You teleport deep, like behind your opponent, and then you just come in and make, well, number one, hitting your drag, and then number 2 is you want to abuse the global as best as you possibly can, and then be very, always do the global pretty much on cooldown at that point in most situations, and then just come up behind your opponent, make them use their dash, and then you hit them with the tongue, and then just, they're dead.
We've also seen Wave of Force coming in for Li Ming.
Yep.
Calder, anything in particular that strikes you about that?
I liked it for the positioning, just in that sense. Especially when you hit the level 20, it has a huge impact, and you can easily just outposition an opponent quite nicely. And they used that very well. They had actually a lot of control over these fights with the Dahaka coming in, and they used that the entire time. Li Ming was another factor in that sense. So Fnatic overall just way more coordinated than what we've seen from NaVi.
On the flip side, what can NaVi now pull out to sort of even the score? What do they need to improve on?
I actually feel like it's not really necessarily a certain draft that they have to get or anything in that sense, but they have to really just work on their coordination in these fights. If you have, for example, like that Maw plus also the Void Prison, those are tools that in this case you mostly use to isolate heroes. There's not really a big follow-up where you can go for one more combo that has a really on-point damage that can blow apart a hero, but you can really isolate quite nicely and then go on another target. And they didn't really use that at all, especially then with also Forces jumping in for the Mighty Gust, that isolation becomes even bigger. And that was not really the game that they played. So they really have to cater a little bit more to the heroes and the strengths that they have.
Yeah, so maybe on the second Battleground, we're going to see a little bit of a better performance from NaVi because it is an entirely different map. It is Blackheart's Bay, a very unique one in terms of objective dread.
Yeah, it's most interesting of all, the first game going in favor of Fnatic now. This is going to be, actually it isn't going to be, Fnatic's going to be first pick here. So this is going to be NaVi's map pick. So I'm guessing, I said it before, I think if you pick Blackheart's Bay, you usually have something up your sleeve typically when it comes to this map. It's probably notoriously the least played competitively. And Fnatic bans out the Zeratul, honestly, I would let it go through. Just from how unimpactful it was last game, yeah. I would just let it go through. I'd be like, prove that it's worth it for you in a lot of situations there. So Fnatic, though, giving it the respect that they feel it deserves here. I think Dahaka's pretty much just going to be first pick. I'm amazed that it made through the bans, actually.
Because Blackheart's Bay is once again a battleground that features a lot of those vision-obscured bushes where Dahaka can actually flank quite nicely. But we do not see the Dahaka once more. It is Falstad being prioritized.
If you prioritize Falstad, this is something that my Insanity did a lot on the map, and usually their idea behind it, not saying that NaVi is necessarily going to run the same strategy, is that they are trying to avoid team fights. They simply play the map, they play the objective, and they use Falstad as the global presence that can easily just help you to disengage. Every single time an opponent or a teammate is in trouble, Falstad is going to fly in, it's going to help you out, you disengage, and you focus on the objective and just running the map.
And it's pretty much like NaVi almost said, you know what, Fnatic? Your guns from game 1, they worked really well. Let's take it for ourselves this time. Li Ming into Dahaka is exactly what we've seen in game 1.
I think he gains more value on this map than we saw on the West. Yeah, globals are valuable on Sky Temple, but they become even more terrifying on Blackheart's Bay. So I really do like that pickup for them. They also have a large amount of poke with a Li Ming pickup as well. Comfort pick kind of for them. So
that's basically also what we've been already talking about in the first draft. When the Fnatic picked up Li Ming, they did not only pick up a strong hero for themselves, they picked it away from NaVi. It isn't really a big surprise to see that Sport Billy is going to be on that Li Ming again. And Dahaka is, as already stated by Dreadnought, first of all, great on the map. He's also a little bit of a counterpart to the global presence that we're seeing Falstad. A bit of a different approach, of course, in the way that they are going to try and approach this game right now. Fnatic securing themselves a Sonya, which is going to help them to just take camp after camp, try to paint that map red a little bit and gain additional coins that they can turn in. But so far, it looks very much like this is exactly the game that they are trying to play.
And if you compare this series to the previous one, which was Dignitas against the Sandwich Monkeys, you don't see any prioritization on Kel'Thas. Does that strike you guys?
Going into this tournament, a lot of the teams didn't, and there was only a few that did. I think I said it yesterday. I think as this tournament goes on, he's going to gain more and more value. I think it's just learning the prioritization of him for Europe it feels like, in my opinion, a little slow, but it's getting there slowly but surely. I wouldn't be surprised if these teams pick it up. If they did before in the qualifiers, they would do it post-second ban phase. Almost none would do it beforehand, but you see teams like Dig and My Insanity as well, both changing their prioritization, considering first pick, first ban. But he's not as valuable on this map as he is on some of the others. He's still great, but he's not as necessary.
Right, so second ban coming in for Fnatic. We've seen Uther being denied by NaVi. Uther, of course, works really well with Sonya, so I think that is probably one of the major reasons why they took it away.
We're most likely going to see NaVi with a pickup on Rhaegar, and they know, of course, that Smexy is most highly prioritizing Uther and Rhaegar here. Those are the top picks for now. One of the things that we could definitely as well see for Fnatic when it comes to the support is that Charism then again, and we're still missing the tank line, of course. But I still feel like this draft is really catering to try and play the map more than facing the opponent in fights. And with them picking Zagara and also now banning out the Chen, like, Fnatic is, first of all, denying NaVi one of the strong frontliners that they have constantly be playing on Alex, and also a very good solo laner again.
Yeah, this is definitely a target ban on Alex Pro G.
Yeah, for sure. I think Thrall's still a viable pickup, though, for NaVi. I don't think by any means it's something that they can't be looking to pick up. Rhaegar, I think, as well. I think that's a great pickup for them, especially with the ban on Uther. Gives them a little bit more value there. But
Tassadar is still available.
He is an option here for these two teams. Not Fnatic, really. I don't like him as the solo. I don't think that's something they should be looking to do. But I don't think that's what we're going to see. I feel like we're going to see a more traditional DPS for NaVi. Here. Typically, I don't like that kind of pseudo support where you essentially leave Dahaka to be the main source and you're waiting for a drag if they go into a Tassadar as well here. I feel like it's just wait for the drag and then go with it.
I would definitely expect them to also like play with the second tank. That's usually their MO if they go. Yeah. There it is. Muradin is being played here now for by Alex. Usually when you go for the Haka, we have seen him solo a couple of times, but not too often during the qualifiers for DreamHack Tour. He was played, but normally when you see Fnatic pick him, then they definitely go with the double front line.
So we've just seen that Aethera Angel for Fnatic feels very comfortable on Dahaka. He says he's a great hero, so they should know how to counter him in this game, right?
Yeah, you should know. It's just absurdly hard to counter him. It's one of those things where it's like in your head you have an idea of how it's going to play out, but because of the beauty of his having a pseudo global, it's very hard to be that calculated in the decision making around him. I actually was going to comment on this. I like the Johanna pickup. I feel like they struggle when it comes to the 2 lanes on the upper half of the map. They need a little bit more wave clear, so I like the fact that they tried to make up for that with that pickup there.
Yeah, now last but not least, we have support missing for Fnatic. Smexy has been a notorious Rhaegar fan, not going to happen this time, so Uther also being picked away from him. Color, you mentioned those are the 2 most comfortable heroes for him?
He usually jumps on Charism if he doesn't get the chance for this. In this particular setup right now, I feel like Charism would be good for him, but it's also like a hero where, at least in the qualifiers, he struggled a lot on him. So I'm not quite sure how comfortable he currently is with picking Charism up. It was a bit of an issue in a few of the games that they played just a week ago, but normally it's his escape hero if the other 2 are being picked, and he goes for it again.
And I mean, really, what other options were there left? I mean,
Morales
would be one, even though she's very underplayed in Europe.
Yeah, she is very underplayed in Europe, and I don't think she necessarily thrived in this specific composition, but she is an option that I would like to see a little bit more in some situations.
We have also seen a couple of Malfurion as solo heals, usually against the Kel'Thas or against a lot of AoE. That Kel'Thas and Tyrande combo that we've seen a couple of times coming up already was to a certain extent countered by Tranquility, but in this setup I feel Charism is the best choice, and it's also, yeah, it just fits their composition the best.
Yeah, Morales being mentioned here. Of course, the enemy team, NaVi, that is, they do have a lot of ways to shut her down now. With Thrall, Muradin, the Dahaka, it would be a very, very uncomfortable game for any Morales. So if you take a look at these 2 compositions, guys, who do you think will have the upper hand here on Blackheart's Bay?
I would actually say that Fnatic is going to take this because they have a setup that will, like, they have to play a smart game here. This is like a composition that really caters to them playing the map more than the opponent. If they can make that work and if they really play coordinator, I feel they're going to take it. If they are forced in fights, then definitely NaVi is going to have a very strong setup to take them down.
Dread looks a little bit skeptical.
I like NaVi's by a lot, actually. The Dahaka, I think, is enough for me to be sold on this map specifically. The amount of stun lock that they have, there's very few things that I feel like they're going to be able to do, especially with having like Jojo and Karazim. I feel like they don't have a lot of greatness when it comes to each role. The wave clear is something that they're going to have that they'll have a little bit of an advantage of, but just Dahaka in a coordinated 5-man group where globals are promoted, every single time I see that on the map, like unless there's a huge telling factor otherwise, I'm like, I like theirs.
And we cannot underestimate the importance of this match in particular, because if Fnatic takes this one, it's going to be a very similar start for NaVi, just like in the spring championship in Katowice, where they dropped every single map.
Yeah, I feel like, what do you say, which map pick that was again?
Well, so map pick number 1 was going to be Fnatic's, but this one was actually going to be Blackheart's was NaVi's pick.
Yeah, because like I feel like what we are definitely going to see from Fnatic is trying to play the map instead of the opponent.
Yeah.
Because I agree totally with you. If they're forcing a fight, I think they don't have a chance to actually win the team fights and later on in the game.
Well, one of the beautiful things about Dahaka and Blackhearts is you get into a situation where you can feign a boss, and then because there's a beautiful little gap sitting right next to the turn-in, if Dahaka's got all the coins, you literally can just build the whole map because he can jungle kind of on his own, build National Bank of Dahaka, feign a boss, and then instantly global bottom, and then it's just like, okay, well, there's a free turn-in every single time.
I feel one of the thought process for Fnatic was also that they have a lot of vision, theoretically, with the picks that they have here, so they can make a few counter plays against Dahaka. I mean, if you are able to really set that Zagara with a lot of vision in those bushes, that helps you at least a bit.
I overall, when just looking at the draft, like last game, I felt like NaVi actually had the stronger draft as well, but I felt like they just played it very poorly. So when it goes off the play involved as well, if they're as uncoordinated, especially with Dahaka as they were last game, I still think Fnatic will win the game. But compositionally, just without considering the two teams, I do think NaVi has a more...
All right, guys, so you heard it. There's a lot at stake, especially for NaVi. Now let's fire it up to the casters. Grubby and Kalaris, take us to Blackheart's Bay.
All right, thank you very much, boys, as we get into our second game here between NaVi and Fnatic. Looking forward to this one once again. Very interested to see how, overall, we see Karazim being utilized here by Smexy. Sometimes we see Smexy not having the best of support games when it comes to how he's able to position. And obviously, Karazim is very heavily and intensely about positioning here. So he's going to have to be careful, very, very careful going up against the dangerous lineup that I see on NaVi's side.
Yeah, very dangerous. Lots of lockdown. Stormbolt, Feral Spirit. We've got Rhaegar slow, Dahaka's pool. Definitely expecting a relentless talent coming out of Karazim here at level 13 and minding his position, and to be sure.
Yeah, you got to be careful. Got to keep track of all your opponent's cooldowns when you're playing Karazim. Something like, I mean, one of the best examples is Karazim versus a KL Fast comp. When you like get put a bomb on you, like, do you want to be radiant dashing to your friend at this point in time? I don't know. Thankfully, we don't see a KL Fast here. As I say, we're going to be on Blackheart's Bay. So let's get into game number 2 with, to the left-hand side, it will be Fnatic, Shrimpy on Zagara, Athero on Sonya, Quacknix on Falstad, Breeze on Johanna, and Smexy on Karazim. And to the right-hand side, it's NaVi with Zamani on Dahaka, Alex the Pro G on Muradin, Ethernal on Thrall, Grand Paquette on Rhaegar, and Sport Billy on Li Ming. Looking for them resets.
All right. Let's take a breather here. We don't want to start too quickly.
Things got intense quickly. Just calm.
I can't take it. I can't take it. All right. I think we're good to go soon. We are at least.
Yes.
But let's see if the players are. Talent picks. Oh, okay. It's a precaution. Making sure all the mounts are allowed.
Yes.
When I want to make use of endangered species mounts.
That's important for sure.
We can do a quick talent review. We have Falstad going for seasoned marksman, Sonya for block.
Yep.
Occasionally you'll see Warpaint from Sonya. It is better for PvEing. Block doesn't work on enemy mercenaries, so it is better for doing mercs to actually have Warpaint. But this is, of course, a better teamfight ability when you expect to take a lot of punishment from heroes like Thrall.
Yep. Anticipating a lot of fights around the center, and that's kind of why I believe that we saw that Chen ban actually come in, because they're expecting to be in that center a long time, kind of, and fighting a lot, and Chen can disrupt that, so that's why I believe that came in.
It's cool that you mention it, because obviously they talked about it in the draft, but Chen, that's going to be a surprising ban for a number of people watching from home here. But don't underestimate that wandering cake in tight corridors.
He's a scary little panda. I say little. He's not very little. That's his niece. But anyway, Athero and Ethernal going to face off against one another towards the bottom. It's a pretty even matchup down there, Sonya versus Thrall. Obviously, she can get good healing, just whirlwinding through all of those minions, and Thrall sometimes just sit and emits it all.
So now in 5 seconds, the chests are going to spawn, and there's a number of ways to deal with this. You can try to get all 10, just get 5. You can try to get the top 5 or the bottom 5. Now we see that NaVi is getting the first coin, but they're going to yield the rest. So that's 4 coins in top for Fnatic.
This is something I wanted to bring up, very important. In this instance, DreamHack is one of the most amazing heroes to actually have on this map, especially for the first 2 chests.
Yeah.
Because he can, I see this so much with DreamHackers, you commit heavily to the bottom. You know that you're probably going to lose out on the top one, but DreamHack can instantly just brush stalker down there and instantly make it a 2v1. Technically, Falstad has the same tools, but Brush Stalker is very, very quick.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, at this point, you have to choose. If both players do it, there's a risk of losing both. Now,
Yes.
Fnatic guaranteed most of the top coins. They would have liked to have 5, but they took a little bit long from the middle watchtower rotation back down to the chest. And so NaVi will take 6 out of the 10 coins. They paid 5 already.
Simon is still looking around there for a moment. I think he did burrow up towards the top there, whilst Eternal is under a little bit of threat.
Quacknix misses his hammerang, and that might lose them the kill. No, they get it just on time.
That is first blood for Fnatic.
That would have felt bad if they missed that one because of the hammerang missing out.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. But at least they were able to pick it up. Good auto attacks. And in terms of stutter step control, Alex is going to be pushed away. And that's already, that one kill opens up their ability to steal some of these coins. So a little snowball effect here and there. He can dash, Radiant dash. And he should be out. Zarmanic coming in, trying to get the slowdown. The Banelings will cripple his potential to get through there without taking too much damage.
Yeah, another cool thing about those Banelings from Shrimpy was that it blocked out the potential tongue from the Haka on the Karazim. So that was pretty cute.
Not too bad. So we will see. Everyone now rotating back up towards the top. The 4-man dance from mid to top will continue here for a little bit. And Thrall, Sonya's actually down towards the bottom. They don't know where Sonya is. They should be anticipating her absence here at the moment.
Oh, sure. Generally, you'll expect her to be on the siege camp. You could try to check for that. But they're going for a contested camp here first.
Wow.
Luke giving all the coins to one single person. As soon as Smexy Style gets to the balloon camp, which he can do by himself, he can pay solo.
NaVi a little bit slow on the uptake there, and they may get, that does hurt them in the long run. Taking that so early on means that the pressure towards that bottom is difficult. There's DreamHack actually. DreamHack just brush stalked towards the bottom. So there is the potential here that Shrimpy could get caught off guard. Will he get a thermal? Oh, Frost Rush Resilience kicks in. Oh, the roaches! The roaches, did they get him? Oh! And Zagara goes down. Great here, little move by NaVi.
Will he get away or the Radiant Dash? No.
The minions started hitting him.
Yeah.
If he didn't cast the lightning bolt there, if he didn't cast that, he would have been caught and dead probably from the minions.
And Smexy Style wanted to Radiant Dash on him, but do you commit 10 coins for a single kill in a 1v2 situation right next to the gate when you know that Thrall has Frostwolf Resilience to save himself? Yeah, I would have done it. No risk. No stupid deaths, actually.
I was going to say, you were about to go down the line of no reward. But
yeah, no, it's actually no risk, no stupid deaths.
All right, well, Cracknex and Smexy in the middle, getting themselves that barrage. They already did, by looks of things, enough damage to make sure that it's going to be a guaranteed fort kill towards one of those towers.
Actually, I think with the top tower, it had like, I think they just won't get it. Oh, okay, they just get it. It was a bit like hit and miss because the top tower actually stayed alive after a cannonball with like 5 HP. But yeah, that was going to be enough.
And we'll have Li Ming falling. That was a great little gank. I feel that this is kind of going out of control here at the moment for NaVi. Fnatic have established themselves so well. And yes, technically there is a turn in for NaVi, but
I'm not really feeling it yet for NaVi, strategically speaking. I've seen a lot of 4-man clustering up in the top and the mid lane.
Yeah.
And what did they get out of it? Is 1 or 2 towers at the mid fort. They had enough points, not enough coins to turn in at some point. But they're just getting a little bit caught left and right.
At least they're able to get this turn in. That's not too bad at all. How much damage did they do to that middle tower?
They did do enough, so they're also going to be able to take down the fort.
Yes, definitely.
You basically either need 1 tower or about 20% damage on both towers, which not everyone knows. Everyone knows about the 1 tower down rule, but 20 to 30% damage on both towers is more than enough.
So not too bad. They will get themselves back in this in terms of experience for a moment, but level 10 is about to be hit for Fnatic, so they can't really contest too much during this window here. So we will see those level 10s come in. It's going to be Divine Palm, Gust, Wrath of Berserker, we have the Devouring Maw, and what we expect to be the shield, and yes, it will be for Breeze.
Level 10 is about to be reached for NaVi, which will finally put them on a more equal footing. We're going to have things like isolation, sundering, ancestral healing, avatar, and disintegrate. So no wave of force like the last game.
No, and noticeably with the Force Armor, Triumvirate, and Seeker across Li Ming, there is the potential for her to have massive burst. I mean, yes, any build that you go with for Li Ming has massive burst, of course, but of course that level 4 talent means that it does help out being able to sustain through the fights. If you're able to get almost a full range orb off, then you can just keep throwing those orbs forwards. And
every 3 seconds, yeah.
So it's a lot of punch.
The one that added the most burst here is that Seeker, if you hit all 3 missiles, which is generally easiest after lockdown. And luckily her team has gratuitous amounts of lockdown.
That's true. And let's see this fight as it unfolds. It looks like Zarmany's going to be able to get away. Li Ming coming in on the left-hand side.
Zarmany just used all his essence, which is about half a health bar worth of regeneration and healing over a short period of time, so he doesn't have that now. And now we get to this point where both players want to they have a turn in and they want to make it happen.
Falstad to the top. He's looking to fly down here to reinforce this.
Okay, so a fight is about to happen.
11 coins on Grand Paquette. He has to be very careful. Of course, he is the Regar, so he's in the back lines. He should be okay. While all of this goes down, unless he loses his front line, Zarmany and Alex feel that they've taken too much damage there at the front to really kind of sustain through, but turnarounds, goes on towards Athero. The Ancestral Heal has already been popped here, so no more big sustained burst, but they've done enough to slowly push away.
Yeah, every heroic has been used for NaVi. They're getting back their isolation and disintegrate soon. We've still got Divine Palm and Gust. So Fnatic has all these panic buttons available still.
No massive flank potential. They're going to just try and throw that anchor forwards from...
Now, I always like to look at these situations. For who is it better to wait? But actually, neither team has push on the map.
Athero's making a play.
Athero is afraid of making a play.
He's going to try and
he wants to spear
across.
Billy.
He wants to know where she is.
Oh!
No, no chance. If he'd have got it, that would have been a very different story for sure. But for now, they are getting pushed away here. Looks like the dash away. There's the Gust. They're not going to commit. They're going to allow them to turn in.
All right, so this is going to be a turn in for NaVi, a very important one. It was really a neutral fight here, as really neither team had a superior push. All the lanes were meeting in the middle. There were no Merc camps. So it was all about cooldown management and positioning.
Yeah. Could have been a completely different story if that spear hit. Ooh, that Stormbolt. You see the little adjustment in Quacknix's movement there?
Yeah.
Just moved down slightly to avoid that. That was very acute, but very nice.
Quacknix, an excellent Greymane and Falstad player, and I think the list of heroes he plays pretty much ends there.
That, and sometimes we saw him in Sonya in the past, actually, of all things.
Okay. But these are his favorites.
Oh, yes. Quacknix, definitely. He is the anthropomorphic character. He likes to play birds and wolves.
All right, 2 warriors in the top lane to soak. Got NaVi finishing their cannonballs. XP is equaling out a bit. Fnatic, they're going to have a small window of 10 seconds where they can do a fight with the talent tier advantage. It's not a big window, and Johanna doesn't have anything that makes her fly.
Okay, well, hi! Of course, Alex.
Stop that, you can't do that.
No, stop that right now. And we'll move away for a moment. They did deny the turn in for quite a little bit there.
Oh, the Shield misses!
Oh.
Nice teleport by Sport Billy.
Yeah. Alex took quite a chunk of damage there.
Oh, and that cute movement by Fnatic, moving forward so that the Chain Lightning wouldn't bounce on the Smexy style.
Dahaka's not here right now. This is quite aggressive considering. Did he join the fight? I can't quite see if he's
just joined from the smoke screen over the pirate.
But there was a little bit of quickness about Alex's movements there, but obviously he keeps himself alive. He's a very good mirror, and that's how it goes. But they did get the turn in during all of that. So Fnatic still piling on the pressure here with their level 13s in.
It's so frustrating in Hero League when the Chain Lightning is coming and you're literally 1 damage off lethal, and then your teammates are like, here, let me bounce that Chain Lightning towards you. You're welcome.
Grand Paquette actually going for Earth Shield at level 13 over something like the Tidal Waves, and for me, I think that with how much fighting is in the middle in those 5v5 situations, I think you can get a lot out of Tidal Wave, but he's opting to go for the Earth Shield. Grand Paquette is one of the best Regars in the world pretty much for me. So.
Tidal Waves gives you extra healing 5 seconds later. Earth Shield does it right now. And
True.
When you have double warrior, especially after Avatar is popped, Murden has such a high health pool that 12% of extra health that he's getting in terms of shield would be like 20 to 30% of someone else's health pool.
Almost always going to be him unless Thrall is really going deep in.
Or Dahaka, but yeah, the Earth Shield gives you more value in the first 1 to 4 seconds.
Yeah.
More than any tidal waves or Earth Living Enchant could do. So I could see that.
Let's see what else we've got going on. Giant Killer on Falstad, so he's looking to try and rip down Alex as well as Eternal.
Grace of Air on Thrall. We see a lot of Giant Killer these days. But Johanna, not the tankiest of warriors. Her health pool is lower. She has more abilities to keep her alive. So I can see how Giant Killer wouldn't be as high priority as if you were against like Diablo Murden or something.
Not too bad a turn in. Get 6 coins there for a moment, but continuing to do this. And the thing is that actually the experience gain for both of these teams has been quite slow compared to most games because there has been so much contention around the middle point. So,
but we asked for who is it better to wait, and in this particular case, better for Navi. If they can buy time here with 3 versus 5 people, they're going to have a much better experience soak over the map. Darka is staying in that top lane. And Thrall even popped to the middle for a bit, so Navi's trying to make up.
Could be a catch. Barrel rolls out. Will they die? No, he will not. Gust is able to save him. On 60 seconds now. Less control of that middle turning point at the moment without Gust.
So is Protective Shield on 60 seconds. It was a bit wasted there on Falstad, but it's a little bit less protection. He was scared.
Breeze going in to scout that location out, maybe drop a shield glare on towards Zarmany if he was to turn in, but he got pushed away, and that will be another couple of coins turned in.
What a tense game here. Oh, it looks like something.
Atherode moving forwards there with the whirlwind, trying to pop one of the members there of Dahaka as he gets burrowed, as well as the ancestral healing just before that, saving him. But that's a lot of damage that's being taken on Alex there. He's going to have to get out. He doesn't have Stoneform, so he can't really heal himself up, especially without ancestral healing. He's going to have to move away, allow his trait to activate, and then get back in slowly.
Level 16 is nearly reached for Fnatic, and they still have Divine Palm. They will have Gust again soon.
They've got to stop Grandpaquette getting those 3 in, but this zoning was good there for them. They're going to go in. That's Condemn actually catches every single one of them. It could be an opportunity to do some damage. Tongue misses there from Zarmany. He won't be able to drag anybody at the moment, and they're going to have to back out. That was great. Slow movement, and level 16's here, so they have to back out now. They know they've got to disappear for just a moment and try and get 16 themselves.
Man, I was wondering if Quacknix was going to fly in and use his Gust, but not enough follow-up heroics from Team Fnatic. No Wrath of the Berserker yet, no Blessed Shield. That was a pretty tense moment because Navi was running with their tail between their legs here. They got their pay-in cancelled at the 11th hour. 99% bet 3 coins into 11.
Very good timing by Breeze, and he caught everybody in that condemn because everyone was so eager to try and protect those 3 coins from getting in. Catching everybody and then getting 16 during that fight. As you say, run with your tail between your legs, or Brush Stalker with the tail between your legs, whichever one you want to be. That's
what?
He wanted to catch one of the siege minions and drag it in range of towers.
Yeah, it's a good move, but it's not easy.
It's a bit of a shame.
Paid by Fnatic, and they're starting to work on the mid keep, so it's getting to that point where Fnatic gets a number of takedowns, they can end the game through the middle.
Yep.
Because the gate is going to be broken, the tower, the Moonwell, they're going to get taken down in the middle, the healing fountain, I should say. And the keep will even take a bit of damage as well. So Fnatic will look to get a pick off here.
And trying to put on some pressure towards Alex once again. He doesn't have Stoneform yet, so he's going to be very, very low.
Nice cleanse by Grandpaquette. The cleanse pre-cleansing on the Blessed Shield. I mean, we knew it was coming out because so much lockdown had been used already. The Blessed Shield just bounced off of him. I mean, it always does, but it actually didn't stun him. That could have been murdered down. Sport Bailey also with a very nice dodge on the teleport.
That was good. Now Grandpaquette's going to get the turn in here, but they are moving towards the top here to rival a boss location. I don't think they're going to take it. I think
Navi has all their heroics, and 3 have been used. This is the moment to fight.
Yes,
for
exactly.
Navi.
I was surprised that Fnatic wasn't going up there, even just for a trap potential, but they're back on all the way, and very, very wisely so, because of what you just mentioned.
Man, 10 seconds, that was their window to fight.
No.
This is risky. The heroics will be back.
But they're showing Muradin far forwards.
I mean,
and that's something that's...
Muradin, if anything, is telling the story. He would not be here if there was not something about one screen away that he's defending. So this has told the story.
Slowing them
knows
down.
They're there. They're moving in.
He was slowing them down. He slowed them down enough. He slowed them down enough. The zone potential here. Navi picked that up. They might lose some of their heroes, though. They've got 16.
Survives.
And he's going to be able to survive with that Stoneform as well, turning around the damage. That Palm was able to pop on Zagara there, really keeping alive. Dragging Zagara still back, though. Alex is still very, very low. Can't really get in towards the action at the front. That's going to leave Zarmany alone, and he's going to get end up popped. Very good control of that fight by Fnatic, considering the drag on towards Zagara.
800 life. Alex jumps out
out. Sport Billy will have one more teleport in him.
And also movement forwards here from Quacknix. Not quite going as far as he may want to actually try and catch some of those, but now they've got to go back and clean up the boss. It was a good fight overall there for Fnatic, but still, they got a little bit there, a little bit too late.
They knew what was happening, but it's pretty hard to get around Murd in there. Alex was doing his job, buying enough time for his allies.
Brilliant. I mean, a boss for 1 kill, I'm okay with that.
Okay, you get the 2 coins. They didn't lose any coins when Dahaka died, I think.
It could have almost been a 1-for-1, easily. Like, it was very well played out for Fnatic to save Zagara in the position she was
Wonderful
in.
Divine Palm.
Yes.
It came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Very nicely done. Oh, they're actually looking to put on some pressure, maybe. And down there, they know that that was being taken, but they're not going to be there in time to be able to wrestle it away.
Fnatic 19.2, still got 3 of their keeps alive. We've got a half life keep for NaVi. NaVi right now is in a very dangerous position. Lose 1 hero and they'll probably lose the game because it will give level 20. It will open up an opportunity for Fnatic to attack. So what does NaVi do here? They know that the opponent has a full turn in. They gotta play this. You can't really play careful at this point anymore. They need to force a fight before level 20.
Yeah, they do. They do. They got a lot of coins available to them. 14, not quite the 16 that they need.
I think Alex just jumps over and tries to get a pick off. You gotta make it happen now.
There we go. He's gonna go into towards the guard there. Trying to keep him alive. Very, very wisely so. There could have been that wolf to follow up from Eternal, who was in position.
10 seconds, that's all NaVi has. They have to make a fight right now in the next 10 seconds.
Yeah, otherwise that 20 is going to hurt them significantly. They're trying to get their coins in, and I think they'll try and get their coins in, back out, consolidate the fact that they're probably going to lose the turn in, and then try and soak 20 elsewhere. They're not taking the fight.
So, okay, they lose that 10-second window, and now it means that the next 1.5 minutes, NaVi will do all they can just to stay alive.
I love this by Fnatic. They know that they're hitting 20. They can shake this, back out, and then turn in.
Yeah. Don't waste cannonballs on this.
Yeah, very, very nicely done. Johanna's just going to slow them down there with Breeze for now. It's going to be Hardened Shield on Sonya. We have Epic Mount, Palm, Indestructible, and Blink coming out for them in total, or Bolt of the Storm, I should say.
Look at the value, everything that Fnatic is getting here for their successful avoidance of a full blown out combat. They're getting both the coins, they're getting a turn in, and that vanilla key push.
And if they timed that out perfectly, if they know, if they are very aware of the timer in the game, 18 minutes, those chests spawning, pick that up, and then get themselves in a position where all of these movements line up so nicely. Very, very good control here.
Now keep in mind, they still have that level lead. They're not going to give it away cheaply. They should be pushing bottom forward, bottom keep. Just get the entire keep if they'd like.
This is good.
They have Gust and Devouring Maw too.
And there's no boss threat. That's the big part about this movement. There was no boss threat. They were all up there, but the boss isn't even spawned at the moment. So they can get away with this and then draw their opponents back. Look how much easy damage they were able to get on that for free.
Exactly, and I think they don't stop here. They've got Zagara. They can do a lot of poke damage with Falstad. It would take a huge blunder at this point for Fnatic to come out not ahead of this fight. If they lose someone in a spectacularly not good way, this could be Navi's way back into the game.
Definitely. Spot Billy was getting eager at the front there, just getting a few shots off, not really hitting too much, but you can see the aggressive position that he's in. Just chip away slowly.
I like Athero's counter flank. He was protecting, he was standing there with Sonya in the smoke screen, making sure that they don't get flanked by a Thrall with the Sundering. That could be pretty devastating.
All right, and this hard camp up towards the top, these bruises, just going to be cleaned up by Zagara very, very quickly. Good job, Shrimpy. No fights just yet. Still no level 20 for NaVi. They will be able to get it quickly, though, now.
I just think it was slightly too conservative maybe for Fnatic not to push all the way to get the keep down because they're giving level 20, but it is rather scary. Pushing on a bridge against Sundering, so I do get it.
All right, Temporal Flux is in action now. We also have the Apex Predator, Storm Shield, Rewind, and Bolt of the Storm here for Team NaVi. That Temporal Flux, scary, scary, scary ability.
40% slow while taking pretty good amounts of damage from that ray of death there from Li Ming.
It's the basic rule of thumb now is nobody on Fnatic's side is allowed to overextend unless they have god tier play. Yeah. Because if you do, you're going to be slowed and you're probably going to be killed. Like, landing Dahaka's drag is much, much easier now under these kind of circumstances.
Yeah, definitely. And he gets really crazy at level 20. He just used his Brush Stalker. He can use it again.
Yeah, the Apex Predator keeps it off cooldown quite nicely. Iron Skin popped here for Johanna, but they know that they were moving in towards the boss.
Quacknix is still at the bottom. He's manning his Falstad to push together with the Siege Camp, and if left alone, he can push that keep down.
Yeah, slowing it.
But it is a risk, because it's a 4v5 right now.
NaVi know that he's down towards the bottom now. He showed against those minions, but they're not looking too eager to take the fight. They want to clean up that Bruiser camp. And then maybe, but they know that Epic Mount is still available here for Falstad.
And there are no smoke screens right around that keep, so Quacknix can push in.
He could get that keep if he's really eager.
He's a little bit scared that someone went to defend.
Alex knows that he has to do something.
Quacknix is coming over.
On the way, where's a Gust? He might try and do this. He pushes them all away, knowing that there is a lot of threat going down onto Shrimpy. And we did have Peaceful Riposte, so even using that palm isn't that biggest of deals there for Fnatic to just disengage for now.
Exactly. Peaceful Riposte. The flank.
Zarmany coming in there with the Brush Stalker on towards the middle and trying to put on some pressure once again. There's the palm on towards Shrimpy. It doesn't get activated though. Look at Sportsbilly's positioning.
Goes down.
Look at Sportsbilly's positioning on that left-hand side, able to get massive burst without any threat whatsoever. That was brilliant stuff there from Li Ming, and they actually get themselves a 3-for-1 trade. Great stuff. A great fight coming out. They need to go on to court and they need to finish it now.
It's going to be a base trade. Falstad, Quacknix, he's going to fly in. He's going to push with the Siege Camp.
I
Can
think
Breeze buy enough time?
I don't think so. It's going to be very, very difficult. Eternal has his own kind of regen as well, and that should be game number 2 going over to NaVi here. He's trying his best, but it's not going to be quick enough. And it looks like he will be taken. Oh, the Gust!
Well, he's got Gust. It really goes down. What?
Are they going to be able to fix this?
Can Zarmany do it alone?
Oh my god, he's going to get everybody! They're going to get everybody!
What?
Oh, Zarmany pushed back!
Quacknix!
Quacknix with the Gust! Oh, the Brush Stalker away! But Zarmany has to now delay. Somehow.
20 life!
Oh my god.
20 hit points.
That should have been it. That should have been it, but Falstad coming back with the Gust. Oh.
Core damage. We have a 4 versus 2 situation.
They can't finish. They can't finish right now.
Fnatic can finish.
Oh, do they have all the coins? The coins, they need to somehow stop a turn-in.
What?
Oh, no.
They have all the coins?
The keep.
They're going to pay. The keep goes down in 3 to 2 shots.
Yes.
Oh, Fnatic wins.
Yes, Fnatic wins.
Yeah, it's a 5 versus 2. They paid.
They go.
And Muradin tries to go for the core.
Good luck, Muradin.
Like one little garden gnome.
Zarmany here to delay things out, but with that amount of shots and that much power, Fnatic is going to be able to make the recovery.
Quacknix salvaged the situation.
What a way!
In a turnaround, suddenly defending.
Who cares about Gust increased cooltime? That is GG Fnatic. Salvage things, and you can hear Breeze going absolutely apoplectic down there as they take the 2-0 and move on to the winners match. What a way to save that core. Fnatic moving on.
Do you ever get that feeling of deja vu?
Do you ever get that feeling of deja vu?
I've seen Quacknix in a moment like this before.
He does.
With the wind tunnel upgrade of Mighty Gust.
Yes.
In this case, the impossible decision. Going for the core and then suddenly hardstoning when you're next to it, I would have just pressed core probably. You're already there. By going back, you admit that it was inefficient for you to go to the core. It was unrealistic.
Yes. But that's the decision.
You accept efficiency is a very difficult mental step to take, and most players wouldn't. Him doing that shows that he's extremely level-headed and can make on-the-fly decisions, completely accepting that whatever is in the past happened.
Yep.
Amazing play there by Quacknix, while the fort was being held at home by Breeze.
Yep, Johanna was there.
Together, they protected the core. Unbelievable, Kalaris.
Brilliant, brilliant stuff. Quacknix pulls through again, but just the overall, I mean, yeah, we look at Quacknix and the Gust potential there, but again, you know, Breeze holding on, as you say, to be able to make sure that it can just be delayed by a moment there. So very, very cool.
Fnatic takes the series 2-0 and we'll move on to the winners match, which we will be showing next.
Yeah, and we are going to head on down to the analysis desk here to see what they say about that series.
What a nail-biter finisher in this game. It was absolutely incredible. We've seen NaVi at the brink of victory there, but in the last moment, they just didn't have enough damage to finish off Fnatic's core. Guys, what do you have to say about the course of the game? It was a little bit, you know, twisted.
I mean, yeah, twisted would be one way to put it for sure. Going for the core, I actually didn't get to see if I felt like they made a major misplay when it was how they went for the core. I did see that. Obviously, you should always be looking for Gus, and I feel like that had a large influence on their success of the game. Also, I feel like maybe their damage prioritization, I think, was a little bit off. But, I mean, I guess that's the story of Blackhearts, that it's always going to be like this crazy low core.
Yep. Kaldor, you have something to say. I know it.
Well, I actually, like, they nearly threw it, Fnatic that is. And this is like exactly what I've been talking about before the game started. They have that huge problem where they oftentimes take risks where they really do not have to. They have the game more or less won. They know if they just like wait it out, it's theirs. And then they stay a little bit too long. They take a fight they shouldn't take, and all of a sudden the game can turn against them. That they saved core was amazing. Don't get me wrong. But like that's a game that they lost in the past several times, and if that happens, that can really break your spirit. You're 1-0 in the series, you completely control a match with your combo, it works perfectly fine, then you make one mistake at the end, you lose, and all of a sudden you find yourself in that third game with that still fresh in your memory, and that can destroy you. So this is the risks that they really have to work on if they really want to take them or not.
Yeah, and let's actually hear what Fnatic have to say themselves. We see Shrimpy, the very handsome Shrimpy, with Red Eye ready at the desk.
Thank you very much. Yes, congrats. Another 2-0 victory on the board. Great, but not as straightforward as maybe you'd have liked.
We're pretty confident on Sky Temple that we will win it, and we pretty much crushed them. Like, we did one mistake and they almost had a little chance of comebacking, but we didn't let that happen in the end, so Sky Temple was pretty easy. Blackhearts, always interesting. We didn't play it that much, and they obviously played it a lot. So, like, coming into the game, we were pretty confident still. We had a good draft. We thought we had the better draft in any way. So, yeah, I mean, they played the map more, and that's why they almost came back, but we are the better team.
Yeah, I think that showed at the end, but must have been some nerves at the end when they're going for the core. You're like, well, okay, what do we do now? What was the communication like?
It was very, like, bad. Quack wanted to go for core, Breeze wanted to defend, so we did both. Like, one went for core, one defended, which wasn't the best, obviously. And then Quack realized he had to back, and we just defended it. Like, yeah.
It was pretty nerve-wracking for you guys. It was great for us watching it, of course, very exciting. How do you rate NaVi after playing them now?
Probably, like, I think there's 4 top teams. Dignitas, MYI, us, and NaVi. So I still rate them top 4, maybe even 3 over MYI. I'm not really sure.
Okay. Well, we're going to find out over the next day and a half, because you're now through to the upper bracket final, so you're going to play in that next. What are your thoughts looking forward to that?
Dignitas, always nervous. Played for them for not so long, but I still was in the team. Yeah. They're probably the best in Europe. Like, I think everyone rates them the best. So it's going to be really hard, but we're pretty confident now.
Okay. Well, very best of luck to you, and we'll go back downstairs and find out what the panel made of that.
Thank you very much, Red Eye. Shrimpy actually mentioned something very interesting, that they are always very nervous when it comes to playing against Dignitas. Do you think, guys, that with the performance that Fnatic has brought to the table, that they stand a chance against Dignitas?
I would say so if they can smooth out these games. Like, they have very nice control, especially like the early and the mid game. I love that when they play it, because they usually make very good decisions then. Their problem, I feel, is really late game decisions oftentimes. They have a very good knack for like ending a game when they see a chance. Like, that works oftentimes in their favor, that they can really like tell, okay, now is a chance when we can take that core. And a lot of times, even as an outside observer, you look at it and it's like, there's no way they're going to have the damage. And then they just blast it away anyways, and it's just such a close thing, and they make that work. But outside of that, I feel like their late game decision making is oftentimes a little bit iffy. He talked about it in the interview as well, that the communication wasn't really where it had to be, that they actually like went for 2 different calls at that point. And I mean, they saved it, but that's exactly the problem that they have in the late game. So if they can fix that, I feel they can take them.
I think that's too difficult a feat to actually fix, especially in this short amount of time. Like the communication you were talking about, how one want to commit to core and one want to defend. That's not a minor misplay. That is literally game-winning and losing level decision-making. And if you're that torn in a team, I don't think like Dignitas is a good enough team here, one of the only like world-class level teams here, in my opinion. And they're good enough that when you mess up that hard, you will every time they will punish you for it. And I don't think they can do it in that short amount of time.
How would you fix that specifically? What do they need to do as an emergency treatment for that?
I mean, usually the way that they are drafting, or sorry, the way that they are shot calling is that Quack in most of the cases has really the final decision. I don't know what exactly went wrong in that particular moment, but that's usually how they run it. They have a very open discussion about what's going on, and if you listen to their comms, it oftentimes sounds a little bit chaotic, but they make that work. But normally, when they are in such a situation, they have one guy that does the final call. That's how they usually run it. Why in this case it didn't work out, I can't tell. It's something that they have to answer, but that's usually their approach. And they just have to be a little bit more disciplined in the late game. This is one of the things that I love about My Insanity, that they have massive amounts of discipline.
Who's Shrimpy, by the way, rated lower than NaVi, actually.
Yeah, I mean, like, it depends a little bit on what you're looking at. I've been talking about My Insanity. I feel like on a personal level, individual level, they might not be on the same as other team players, but at the same time, it's just like that synergy that they have as a team, that harmony, and that's this discipline in the late game, and when it comes to calls, that really sets them apart oftentimes, and that's what makes a good team.
Now, something that speaks a little bit in Fnatic's favor, though, is that they still have a lot of compositions to pull off. For example, that infamous Murky, or something else that they could bring to the table when playing against Dignitas. So if you were Dignitas at this stage, Dread, what would you be most fearful of when playing against Fnatic?
I don't actually know if I would fear anything, really.
Yeah.
It's probably, I feel like they're an experienced enough team that they've probably seen a majority of the strategies that they're going to pull out. So at this point, it would just be, I would be more fearful of, like, I guess, my team losing than them beating us, if that makes sense. They would be just, as long as they feel like internally everything's going fine, I don't think I would fear anything.
Right, Kaldor, what would you say?
I know that Fnatic has a few things that they haven't really shown yet, as you would expect, of course.
Right.
So there's a couple of things that I feel Dignitas hasn't really seen yet. But when it comes to like preparing and also to drafting, I agree with Dread. I really think that Dignitas is the team that is more likely to pull something out than Fnatic, because we know a lot of the pocket strategies that Fnatic showed in the past. I don't think they can pull something on the same level again. We know about the Murky by now. So overall, I would be more afraid on Fnatic's side what Dignitas can really bring, because their preparation, Dignitas' preparation is incredibly good, and they have a lot of strategies that they just test out and then try to perfect.
And Dignitas looking certainly very strong in their first best-of-3 series. We're going to be back after a short commercial break, guys. Everybody, make sure to join the discussion on Twitter if you haven't already done so. Hashtag HGC is the place to be. We're going to show you the winners match after a short break. Dignitas versus Fnatic.